Thank you.
I want to come at the question from the other side, meaning the question has been answered in the past as if the budget is static, as if we cannot grow the national budget. One way, and the way we will approach reducing that percentage, is to grow the budget. And the growth in the budget will be used for investment purposes. Yes, there's waste in the budget. I mentioned this earlier. Councilor mentioned the number of cars we buy. I mentioned travel and all the waste, how much we pay per unit of whatever. We have to reduce that. But ultimately, Raymond, we have to take that budget from 550 million to 700 million to a billion to 2 billion. And that's how we will reduce the recurrent expenditure. But let me tell you how we'll do it. So it's not just talk, right? We will do it by stimulating the growth in the economy of our country. We will do it by growing the private sector. We will do it by reducing the amount of regulation. We tie our hands. We create rules and laws that we cannot enforce. And we constrain the Liberian people. We constrain Liberian businesses. And we will simplify. I believe by even reducing our tax rates, we'll actually collect more money because we'll make it simpler to apply. There will be less room for corruption. We will also make sure we get the full value from our natural resources. Because again, we got to grow the revenue. There's cost reduction and there's revenue growth. And so we will grow the economic pie. And if you understand the math, by growing that, even if you help recurring expenditure the same, the percentage will go down over time as we take the budget from $600 million to $2 billion. And that's where we'll focus. It's expansion. It's growth. I want us as Liberians to rethink how we think about ourselves. We should be more expansive in our thinking. You know, we actually shouldn't talk about poverty reduction. We should be talking about wealth creation. We should want to create wealthy Liberians, not less poor Liberians. And this is what Alexander Cummings, Jeremiah Solonte, and the ANC-led government will do. We will create wealthy Liberians, we'll grow the economic pie for all Liberians, and through that process, we will reduce the amount of recurring expenditures. Thank you.
Thank you. Have this, please.
Okay, that was Alexander Cummings, and I'm gonna play the rest of this video. I just want to bring you here so you can hear. I wanted to start from here and go backward, right? Again, I have no copyright to this video. This video is from 2017. Okay, FN video. Again, I have no copyright to this video. I just wanted to retrospect. And my question tonight to all of us is, I hear people say this person is doing well, that person is doing well. And to some degree, it is relative. And then to some degree, it is not. It's diet. Here's why. But what metrics are we using? Or what measurement are we using? Okay. To conclude success. So let's look at a few things. When you have a country where justice is inconsistent, that justice is the foundation of any democracy. Freedom of speech, freedom of press. We've seen press journalists being beaten. Pepper spray. But what measure are you putting that? Oh. They are the who among the who's. They are the old oligarch. Okay. Or the autocrats. Is that what it is? So, but what measure? What standard? When you talk, you reference we are. We're not in government for 40 years. We were never vice president. Except for being a peace ambassador, we were never a manager. So, per what standard are we using? And I will leave you this question. Every day you wake up in Liberia is chaos. I'm going to play the rest of the video for y'all. Okay, then we can decide. But I wanted to emphasize what Alexander Cummings said. We will expand the budget. The budget is not static, meaning it's not there, that it's stuck there, it can't move. We came from Taylor time, 50 million. Ellen, we got to 70, we got to 100, we got to 300, we got to 500 million. And every time the budget increases, the burden is put on the people. The government divide the money, the people in charge, they create the budget and increase their own budget. The lawmaker, like this time, their budget went up almost 50 million. The money not going to the people. But we charge the people more taxes. Alexander Cummings is an economist. Forget that he's running to be president or he ran to be president. Forget about that. Let's look at his mind. Let's look at how he's done it. How he was able to take Pillsbury from filing bankruptcy and being bought by other organizations to leaving it as a promising organization that has lived beyond even his turn. That's a nation that have been built, that came from poverty. Okay? That's how those nations were able to build themselves. They look at other sample. You know where I come from in Nima, they say, oh, Savo Gwenzida. Okay? Meaning you use the schematics or the old maths as an example, okay, to plot, or as a thread to plot the new one. But here is the thing though. You must pay attention when you are in the process of plotting, okay? Because if there's a glitch within the old math and you do not pay attention to fix that glitch when you're moving on, you're going to end up with the same kind of math. If it's cricket, that's what you're going to come up with. Whatever the designs are, if that's not what you're trying to accomplish, that's what you're going to end up with. So it is essential that if you're going to use that as an example, okay, you must pay attention to every detail and make the adjustment that you want to see. All right? What am I saying? You see, the engineers, the architects, before they design on paper, their mind would have already conceived the end result, what they're trying to accomplish. I remember when I first went to college here, and I was doing intro to psychology, abnormal psychology. And my professor at the time, introducing us to the class, said to us, which was strange, I come from Liberia, from a small country, from a private school, and said, what do you want to become? Everybody write on your piece of paper, what do you want to become? And people started writing where they wanted to end up when they got through. He said, now, start from the end and work your way backward. Your mind should always be on where you want to end. You know, like we say, keep your eyes on the ball. Keep your eyes on the ball. That's what that means. So start with the end in mind, okay? And work your way backward. Like somebody's telling a good story. They tell you, this is how the story ends. Maybe the woman and the man are getting married. They leave the picture in your head, okay? And they cut it off from there. Then they go backward from the beginning. So while you're watching the show, you are trying to understand how did they get to that best part? How did they, everything else in between? You didn't see it. The first picture that you seen is how they got to the end. It's like the engineers. I was an engineering tech. I did telecommunication electronics. I know how to read schematics and different type of schematics and all of that. Okay. When the drawing start, before they even draw, their mind would have conceived what they're trying to get at. Like you want to build a house. Before you draw, you know you want a 3-story. You know you want the measurement. You want each room to be a 12 by 12 or 24 by 24. You want to have a closet, a walk-in closet. You want to have a sheet, and here you just want to have an open concept in your closet. Okay. You want to have the bathroom. You want to have a jacuzzi top, but you want it big enough that 4 or 5 people can fit in it if they want to. You want a shower adjacent that, but you want that shower to have a sitting area. Maybe it can get hot to the point that you can turn into a sauna. That's what your mind has conceived. Then you got to work out the small details. You got to work out the small details. It says, Rachel, happy birthday, Mama. Happy birthday. We celebrate you all month. We celebrate you all month. Hey, Lasso, how are you? Okay. So, but whose standard for a country to be considered is democracy? Okay. 4 things must be present. Equity, meaning equality in everything. Fairness in everything. Justice must be the hallmark. No, we don't use America right now. It's the example. But this what happened in America. America have built herself strong enough that they were rebuilt. That's the saying. There's a famous quote in America that says, it says, it's going to come to mind. I always recite it. It will come to mind. The greatness of America lies not in her enlightenment, not on her size, not how smart it is, but based on her ability to repair herself. And I keep saying, this is something that Liberia is not able to do, has not been able to do. We want to keep moving. Let's move forward. Let's move forward. Simply look at my stuff for me on the stove. Let's move forward. You are not moving because you are not fixed what is breaking. You have not looked in the mirror to say, this is rotten. Let's fix it. That's where you are. Okay? So here we are. But whose standard that you say you're succeeding? Justice is denied to the poor. We watch young people. We watch Liberian more until they're live on social media. We watched over 3,000 women and children molested, violated, no justice. We watched a deputy minister accused of molesting a child. A child. And you say you need DNA. And you know you have no DNA machine. You know from Ellen Johnson Sirleaf Day to Wiyata, you've been promising DNA machine. No DNA machine. All the other people that you arrested and put in jail without DNA. But from the result from your preferred clinic and the children don't lie like that. But this is the government interest. So he cannot be touched. He's above the law. While other 3,000 cases and counting, we're carrying on. But which standard are we saying we are succeeding? There's no free market. In democracy, the market should be, the economy should be linear market, where things are diversified, where turnaround time for entrepreneur, business starters can start business in 24 hours, in 6 days. No freedom of press. He will tell me you're doing better than Wiata. Good evening, everyone. So, per whose standard, I'm going to play this video. I want you to hear the minds of the people. You know, I'm watching Liberians and I'm watching people, how we navigate our surroundings as surroundings as Liberians. We will almost want to take people down. I remember when Talia Ure were almost burned, set on fire. And later on, the father showed up and said that they're all brothers and sisters. I am learning for Liberian politics to choose my battle. I am learning to not amplify people so much, because in the end, the first thing they will tell you, because most of them are wearing masks. Yeah, Emmanuel, most of them are wearing masks. The first thing they will tell you, we have no country. This is the only country that we have. It is an excuse, because at that moment, it benefits them. You do not have a country. You have a country because you are in the position. You, your family are in a position. The everyday Liberian who have lived off of the land, who may not have the opportunity to have family to be in government or to have family to go loot during the war or before the war, that is connected, or that do not understand, have not amplify, amplify the essence of education, because it is not our culture. That may come with a culture war, because our Liberian people will say. Okay, but I want to play this, and Saturday morning I'm going to talk mainly about FGN. So all of you be prepared to come and curse me. Okay, but tonight I just want to play. I want you to listen to Pape Boaka 2017. So if you raise the money and you give it back, but you charge the people more, Liberian people came from paying 10% Wiata to 13%. So the money that they're gonna generate. You all remember when we and Pape Boaka first took over? What did he do? They charged the motorbike rider. They raised over, I think they said what, 4 million or 40 million. I don't remember. But they charged them to buy reflector jackets, helmet. Even some of the kids lost their life, because I can remember one of them, they had a helmet on. They chased him on the car. I think he got shot. They asked them to buy fire extinguisher. Although in the country, you barely have fire brigade to go anywhere. Ambulances. I see cars burning in the streets. I see accident, people putting people in picture when their whole body is burned. But the government is asking individuals that they're collecting taxes for, that they are selling their natural resources, their rubber, their timber, their diamond, their gold, their black sand, their samsonite, okay, their emerald, and all of that. But they're telling them to buy their own fire extinguisher. You know, a nation is developing by how much investment it puts in the people, not in government officials. You see, Singapore, the first thing Lee Kuan Yew did, build a decent homes to take the people out of the slum. Make education compulsory and free. Your country standard of living any country's standard of living is directly correlated to your country literacy rate. The quality of life and standard and productivity is directly correlated to how much education your nation has managed to elevate the people to. The mind is the most powerful thing to waste. But I'm going to play this video. I'm going to go back. I'm going to play the whole video back. Okay. I'm going to go back from the beginning. Okay. I'm going to play this video again. I own no copyright to this video. I'm just going to let it play. I want to refresh your mind. Well, all of these people told us, and in honor of a brilliant mind, a brilliant mind, a brilliant Liberian mind, Charles Bronski. You know, Liberians, something is with us. Charles Bronski. Here's this Yamitro. When Charles Bronski was running in Liberia, the people used to say that Bassa Party. They didn't care about his brilliance. They didn't care about what he had to say. Hopefully, with all of us involved, we can get on the ground, visit each house, knock at every door, and explain to our people why it's important not to vote on their tribes, not to vote based on their religion, not to vote based on sexism, but vote based on ideology and proof that this person is able to do this, how they would do it, where they would do it. Let me play this. I want you to listen. I will come back when we are done. Tonight, I came a little late, folks, because my children are in, my students had a recital tonight in the orchestra, and they personally asked me to come and support. And tomorrow we have a big test. So I'm crediting them so they can do well tomorrow. So I show up. So I'm just coming home. But I didn't want to just post on Facebook and not show up today. I want to also have this conversation. Okay? So let's go ahead and have this conversation. And then we're going to come back. And I will play back Mr. Cummings where he said, they will increase and expand the budget. But the increasing of the budget, the money will go to educate Liberians. It will go to create jobs. It will not go back in lawmaker pocket. It will not go back in the executive pocket. It will not go back to they and their board members, they and their cabinet pocket. No, that's not what she said. Okay? So let's go ahead and see what we are here.
Thank you very much. We want to thank all of the organizers of this debate. I come to this debate this morning against many suggestions from people and partisans and key supporters who asked me not to appear. But I'm here for several reasons, among which are my respect for anything that is important to the Liberians in and out of government. It shows their love and concern for their country. Liberians are aware of the challenges they face in and outside their country and are now demanding that our country give them the opportunity to actively participate and contribute to the rebuilding of their country. That a responsible government in place, one requisite leadership that is capable, tested administratively, and one with knowledge and experience and integrity to manage our resources and be accountable to them. Let me emphasize here that we are an African country with a huge percentage of our people in the rural communities, illiterate society, unemployed youth needing quality education, technical skills for employment. I graduated from the university, and the first assignment I took was outside the country, something that was not normal in those days. For believe that once you receive Monrovia, they forget about you. This gave me the opportunity to understand the life the people live outside Monrovia, what the people think about their lives and their development. And I said to myself these few days that it is about time that we think Liberia, love Liberia, and build Liberia. We have done a lot. Our youth, our women, sit in the market and squalor. We see that. When I go up country, I look at different things. I look at the life of the people, the quality of life they're living. It is not talking, it's about action. And this is the experience that I have. So Liberians, today, we thank you for giving us this opportunity because we should go beyond rhetoric and give to our Liberians what they deserve. Thank you very much.
Please control the clapping. You have a lot of time for that. Thank you, Vice President Boyka. Mr. Cummings, can you move to the podium for your 4-minute introduction?
Thank you, and good afternoon. To the organizers of the program, the Deepening Democracy Coalition, to the moderators, to my fellow aspirants for leadership of our country, it's my honor to be here with you this afternoon. You know, about 3 weeks ago, Liberia celebrated 170 years of independence, the oldest republic in Africa. Yet, we are amongst the least developed countries on our continent, and indeed among the least developed countries in the world. My fellow Liberians, we have to ask ourselves some very hard questions. Why do almost 60% of our people live below the poverty line? Why is our per capita income of $297 the third lowest in the world? And I could go on and on. There are two fundamental truths that we have to think about as Liberians. One, if you keep doing the same things, you will not get different results. If you keep doing the same things, you will not get different results. The other fundamental truth is that the best predictor of future performance and future behavior is past performance and past behavior. And as Liberians go to the poll on October 10th, I ask you to keep those two truths in mind and answer some of these hard questions about why we are where we are after 170 years. I have been very blessed in life, blessed to be a Liberian, blessed to have gone to demonstration school, CABA, Cuttington, worked at LBDI, but also blessed to have managed large, complex organizations, managed financials much bigger than our countries, and consistently delivered results, consistently was held accountable, created jobs for people across the world. And I ask you, as we look forward, as we have this debate, let's look at who will answer the fundamental questions, who will go below the surface, who will understand the economics of our country, who will focus on the how we can change our country. And that involves bringing all Liberians together. We call it Hearts and Minds. That involves finding the money It will require funds, money to do the things we need to do. It will require a government of inclusion. It will require growing the private sector and leveraging technology. So my fellow Liberians, this is what we offer you. This is what we want you to think about. We have to do some things differently if we want a different country. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cummings. Mr. Bromskin, please head to the podium, please.
Thank you so much to the Deepening Democratic Coalition, the moderators, the people of Painesville for allowing us the use of this hall. Thanks to Ben, to Joe, to Alex, they're all my friends, for joining me today in presenting our views to our people. Each and every one of us have something to say about what we will do for this country. But I'd like to share my vision with you during the next hour or so, through the eyes and the condition of an old lady who I met in a village in Nimba. Her husband predeceased her. She had no children. But for the mercy of her neighbors, she would go to bed hungry every night. That lady's condition must be changed if we are to be a country and a nation that cares for our people. And then I speak of the lady whose husband told me her story about her dying in childbirth because they had to walk several hours to the nearest clinic to get medical care. That too must change. I tell you the stories of the young men on the street who are called Zogos, who we must take and bring into society. No Liberian will be abandoned under a Bromskin-Conway administration. I talk of young people in Liberia who graduate from high schools, some of them with honors, yet and still they fail LU's entrance exam. There's something fundamentally wrong with the education system of this country that we intend to change. I talk about the businesswoman who took a loan from the commercial bank at the interest rate of 20%, went to China, brought goods to sell at a profit margin less than 7%. She could not pay the loan. We must help that woman. We must help Liberian businesses for them to move forward. It is time to change this country. I will talk about reconciling this country, bringing our people together, not tearing them apart. I will talk about those values that made Liberia strong, that once made us a good people. Family values, values of being our brothers' keepers, our sister keepers. It's time that once again, Liberians can care for each other. I talk about the infrastructure that need to be rebuilt because of my experience traveling into the Southeast the other day. Many would say some similar things, but really realize it can only happen if it is grounded on the integrity of the vision bearer. And the integrity that I speak of is not simply the absence of corruption, but the integrity to say, yes, I am qualified to run to be president of Liberia. I meet the constitutional requirement. I have the relevant experience in government. I've been in there. I came out clean with my reputation intact. That's what I bring to the Liberian people. I thank you.
Thank you to our aspirants. for your introductory remarks. We are now to our questions. Sector will be the economy. And because of the order in which we have organized these debates, Vice President Boyka will be the first to answer the question, since Mr. Uri was the first for the introductory remarks. Yes, you have to go to the podium. So the question is, many Liberians live below the poverty line. What specific measures are you going to put in place to address this issue? And how will you fund a poverty reduction program? You have 3 minutes to answer the question.
You know, when people ask me, what are your priorities for this country? I say to them, number 1, roads, number 2, roads, number 3, roads. There's no way we're going to expand the economy of this country when it's lacking. Lofa County is supposed to be the breadbasket of this country. How do you get the food here? You go to Lofa, you can buy bananas almost for little or nothing. How do they get here? Unless we open up this country, we can go to the southeast on a good road. We can go to the northwest on a good road, the central part of this country. We're not going to expand the economy of this country. When a job that is supposed to be done in 2 days take you a week, you cannot build an economy. You cannot support an economy and build a society. All of the developing countries, they're not developed because they have ships and airplanes. It's because of accessibility. You got to get there. We have to open the country up. The young people will get jobs. Tourism will be an attraction here. We can't do that sitting in Monrovia and driving. Take a typical example where we to have an invading army coming from Banga. Where do you go? In the sea? Because you have nowhere to go. The opportunities are here. We don't have to look elsewhere. We cannot be a country all the time we thanking and begging our partners. The resources are here. We must invest in them, improving them, give our people a job, give them opportunity to have clean drinking water and quality education. My priority number 1 is road. We open up this country, we open up opportunities. The resources are there, we can get them. We need accountability, we need honesty. We don't just mean people talking about it, live it. In all my working life, I have lived a transparent life. We managed operations that provided job here, and we gave job to the people because of our integrity. You can say what you may, LPMC was a success. When I managed LPMC, it provided job for people. It provided opportunities for people. Open up the country and open up the economy of this country. You will see jobs created. Thank you.
Okay, some will argue that, cynics will say you've been the vice president for almost 12 years. You could have had, you had the opportunity to do exactly what you're talking about. And
thank you very much.
That will be your response, yeah.
The vice president, and I am telling you that you put a race car in the garage and you say you want for that car to be proven. Put the race car on the track. A vice president is a vice president. You know very well what a vice president is.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Vice President. I beg you. I want your foot. Please, please, please. Please, 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 please. I beg. Please, please. Mr. Cummings, would you head to the podium? And the question is, many Liberians live below the poverty line. What specific measures are you going to put in place to address this issue? And how will you fund a poverty reduction program? Thank you.
The primary way that we will alleviate the challenges our people face every day is first by investing in infrastructure, meaning investing in power, electricity, yes, roads, but also water. And we, an ANC-led administration, will privatize infrastructure because we believe that's the fastest way to generate economic growth and economic activity. We will also make sure that Liberians are put front and center of all of our priorities and our efforts. We will ensure that our activities go beyond Monrovia, go beyond Macerata County, but touches on all Liberians in every part of our country. We will invest in education because the long-term solution to alleviating poverty is by educating and training our people. And that's something we'll focus on. At the end of the day, though, we also have to find the money to do all of these things because otherwise it's just talk. And so we are going to go after waste in government. We're going to go after corruption in government. We're going to make different choices in terms of how we invest those dollars. Because without those resources, we will not be able to eliminate the poverty in our country. I was coming from Tapeta to Saclay, and I was stuck on the roads. And I was fortunate to meet a cross-section of Liberians. And I can say to you, the stories told was heart-wrenching, heart-wrenching. And what's even more profound for me is the fact I know we can do better. I know as a people, we deserve better. And I know if we get out of our own way, if we revisit our rules and regulations and simplify things, if we put Liberians first, we can change our country. We can alleviate poverty. And the way to fund it is to go after waste, go after corruption, to get more benefit from our natural resources and redirect those things to the things that matter to the Liberian people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cummings. You may have your seat. Ms. Could you please head to the podium? Okay. The same question, just give us 1 second so we can get the time already. But the question is, many Liberians live below the poverty line. What specific measures are you going to put in place to address this issue? And how will you fund a poverty reduction program?
Firstly, Maureen, I do not subscribe to poverty reduction. I believe in poverty alleviation. There is no reason to say to Liberians, you cannot afford a bag of rice, I will give you a cup of rice. No. Our government will ensure that Liberians are able to make farms grow rice sufficient for them to eat and be able to sell bags of rice, helping to pull themselves out of poverty. In the short run, we would use public procurement. The government of Liberia spends about $157 million a year on purchasing goods and services. I would want to see the lion's share of that money going to Liberians. It would help to put Liberians in business, put Liberia in charge of trade and commerce in this country, develop a middle class, and alleviate poverty in this country. We'll also use the agriculture sector, where the bulk of our people live, as subsistence farmers. Our challenge as a government would be to transition them from subsistence farming to commercial farming, creating the environment where Liberian citizens can establish the corporate vehicles that will connect the farm to the market. And we can thereafter look back at history. And our children in the future will judge us to say that the Liberty Party government did something about their plight. And therefore, poverty is alleviated from our country. I think I done? Oh, okay.
What do you make of the Sali's administration various strategies to reduce poverty?
Well, you know, it's a question I think you probably should ask the vice president, but we already know his answer. The vice president said that he was just sitting down there, not doing anything. What the vice president has said to us today is that he received pay from taxpayer dollars over a period of 12 years, and he was doing nothing because he was tied somewhere else and not on the racetrack. Now, what we need, and I commit to the Liberian people, Harrison Conway, as my vice president, will not be locked up in a room. He will be a partner. He will be a cabinet minister. He will be there when we run this country together as partners. Okay? They have done, President Sali, with the assistance of development partners, have put forth a lot of policies. The problem has been and continues to be the political will to implement those policies. And that's what I bring to the table. My talk is not empty. I've been in government before. I've done it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bromskin. Mr. Ure, would you please head to the podium? Again, it's the same question. Many Liberians live below the poverty line. What specific measures are you going to put in place to address this issue? And how will you fund a poverty reduction program?
Not only do a lot of Liberians live below the poverty level, but most international organizations have ranked Liberia as one of the poorest nations in the world. This is no joke, and it requires educated, experienced, and committed people to solve this problem. As an economist, a planner, and an accomplished businessman, I feel I can solve this problem. Liberia must move forward. We must get the wheel, the economic wheel, turning again. We must make our economy agro-based. We must support it with industry. We must create mini industry that will support the larger ones and get the economy moving again. And how will I do it? I will reopen the Agricultural Cooperative and Development Bank. Well, small farmers, poor people can once again go and get money and start their lives over. I will also reopen the National Housing Bank, where poor people can go and get loans and be able to build decent places to live. I will put more money into the people's pocket, give them purchasing power. And we must never listen to promises again in Liberia. We must be able to evaluate each individual based on what they have done to determine whether or not we can give our country to them to manage again. We need a good manager. Our people are deeply troubled. We are in a Mahoran situation. Our people are destitute. They need leadership. They need money. And they need new vision. And we provide all of that for our people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are moving to the next question, and Boyka is going to be.
Yeah, our next question goes to the ANC's political leader, Mr. Alexander Cummings. Many estimates have said that, have pointed out that our budget deficit hover around 8.5%. This deficit, as you know, affects government operations. What specific plans do you have to address the repeated budget deficits so that the government runs smoothly?
Thank you for that question. I like to think about things in the sense that there are things you can control, you have absolute control over, and there are things you can influence, and we have to do both. The things we have absolute control over to get at the budget deficit, Boykai, is addressing the waste in government. And I will give you some specific example because we can stop that, we can control that. We have to look at our procurement practices, and are we paying fair value for what the government procures? Can we save some money there? Do we buy too many cars, too many expensive cars for government officials? Do we have too many people traveling in the wrong class of travel? These are all examples of what I call waste that we can curtail to reduce the deficit. Then there's a lot of seepage, rent-seeking, corruption that we have to go after. Because if we go after those things, we can redeploy those funds and reduce our deficit. Then we have to look at the revenue side of the equation. Can we get more from our natural resources? Are there more natural resources that we can take advantage of? Again, to reduce the need to borrow. And we need to reinvest those dollars into productive projects, into creating jobs for our people. Yes, into funding agriculture for our people, into training and developing our young people. We need to reduce the salaries of the people at the top end of government and pay the people that actually do work more money. We need to pay teachers, civil servants, police officers, soldiers, healthcare workers. If doing that by itself will be economically stimulating, if you take the money out of the hands of a few and put it into the hands of many, it will stimulate this economy and you will begin to reduce the need for fraud. So those are things that are very specific. Those are things that we're not dependent on others to do. It will take the political will to do those things, and I believe we can and must do those things if we're going to grow this economy of our country. Thank you.
Councillor Bronsky? The question again. Many estimates, have put it that our budget deficit hover around 8.5%. This deficit, as you know, affects government operations. What specific plans do you have to address the repeated budget deficit so that the government runs smoothly?
Boyka, while we believe in fiscal discipline, a budget deficit is not necessarily a bad thing. There will be times when we will need to provide for the welfare of Liberians, and the revenue just may not be there, and we have to do deficit financing. But there must be discipline. Now, here what we need to start with is to reverse the flow of revenue. Today, the President's office, the Vice President's office, the Speaker's office, the President pro tempore office, the members of the Senate, the members of the House of Representatives, they take the lion's share of revenue of this country here. make me president of this country, and we're going to reverse that. Harrison, my running mate, and I have agreed that we're going to cut our salaries by 30%, create a trust fund for the education of our children. We're going to challenge the members of the legislature to do the same thing. All those appointed by me in the executive branch, their salaries will be reduced. I want to see a civil servant making more than 10,000 Liberian dollars a month. I want to see teachers making a livable wage. We need not do that by increasing the budget deficit. We can do that by reducing the salaries of the people at the top level of government. But then also, we need to expand the economic base, the tax base, if you will. Today, quite a bit of money comprising gross domestic product that is still not coming into the revenue system because government has not devised a scheme how to reach out to our brothers and sisters in the non-monetary sector of the economy. We need to reach out to them. We need to expand the economic base by investing in the agricultural sector of this country, diversifying our economy, empowering Liberians so that they become middle-class people and that our country will be able to move forward.
One is, what do you mean when you say a budget deficit is not necessarily a bad thing? I want you to further explain, expand on that a bit. Another thing is, how are you going to ensure, you talked about challenging lawmakers to reduce their salaries. We know there's been a history with that, and we know how that went. How are you going to ensure that is done?
Certainly the use of the bullet pulpit. As the president of this nation, I will talk directly to the Liberian people. I will let them know. For example, District 5 in Margibi, where the speaker comes from. I will say to the people, this is how much money goes into his office budget. Look at how much money goes into hospital, medical care. Look how much money goes into education in Margibi, and challenge him to reduce his office appropriation so that we can put our people first. This is the time, and Liberty Party intend to usher in a new era for real change in our country. On the issue of budget deficit, as I said, there will be development projects that might need to be undertaken, for which you may not be able to generate the resource immediately. Everybody, you, myself, we all borrow money. The point of the matter is that we must be disciplined and make sure that there is not unnecessary overrun. If there's deficit financing, that money should not find its ways in the pockets of the big shots of this country. It will be appropriated for the use of our people. And that's what we intend to do, the Liberty Party, when we granted power in this country by the Liberian people at the grace of God. There's so much to do in our country. Our people deserve more. Our people should mean more to us. It's time. Our people just been tired waiting. They waited too long on empty promises made by people who do not have the political experience or the background in government. People that you can't trust. How you can trust me if I say something if I haven't been tested before? I've been tested, I've proven, and I'm ready to say.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Benanayuri? The question again is, some estimates have put the budget deficit at about 8.5% of the GDP. This deficit, as you know, affects the operations of government. What specific plans do you have to address the repeated budget deficit so that the government runs smoothly?
The whole process of budgeting is a planning phenomenon. And we have noticed over the years the need for a planning ministry. If the budget is not done professionally And realistically, you will always have a deficit. If you don't have the requisite skills and experience in preparing a budget, you will have a deficit. I will lobby with the legislative branch of government to ensure that the Ministry of Planning and Development be recreated. Because the Ministry of Planning and Development is the heart of the country, especially coming out of a civil war and in the instance where the country is in the situation it's in today. We have to have qualified, experienced people to plan the future of our country. I, Benoni Ure, as president of this country, will immediately accept a 50% reduction in my salary. And I expect that the legislative, the judiciary, and all other branches of government will do likewise if they love and care about the people of Liberia. And this money can be redirected to another source. But most importantly, we have deficit because we believe, and meaning no harm to this government, that this government and many other governments appear to be too business unfriendly. One must create an enabling environment where people will come, invest in this country, and don't be harassed. Increasing taxes does not necessarily give you revenue, but one has to create the environment where people will come freely and invest in this country. And we will continue to have budget deficits until these things are treated. So, in addition to what I said, I'd like to ask that all the monies generated from the reduction in salary, I want you to know that 80% of our budget is recurring expenses. How can we ever develop our country when 80% of it is on recurring expenses? It's strange to the world. Almost every growing country in this world will take at least 60% of her budget for development and not on recurring expenses. I thank you.
So, you talked about having the requisite skills as a means of avoiding budget deficit. I mean, we've had like 4 or 5 stewards of our economy, the Ministry of Finance, since President Sirleaf became president. I think one of them is even in this room. But is that an indication? I mean, were you implying that we have had unqualified people handling the budget?
Certainly not. We have had some of the brightest young people in our country, people that I'm proud of as a Liberian. But I'm saying we need people with experience. We need people with experience. And I also call for the creation of the Ministry of Planning and Development. It's a difficult task. Look, planning, I am a planner. I got my master's degree in planning from the University of Southern California. And it was a difficult degree. It was a difficult degree. And it requires a lot. And it's true that we had very bright young people in the Ministry of Planning and Ministry of Finance, Planning and Development, but there's a need to have experienced people that will guide our young, very talented and educated and smart people. And then there's a need to separate the two institutions. Planning, coming out of a civil war, is the most important ministry. In addition to that, the Ministry of Rural Development, I listened to our older brother, the Vice President, talking about roads. We must create a Ministry of Rural Development. It's unfair for all the resources to be centered in Monrovia. It must go to the rural area.
Vice President Boakai? Some estimates, the question again, some estimates have put the budget deficit at about 8.5% of the GDP. This deficit, as you know, affects the operations of government. What specific plans do you have to address the repeated budget deficit so that the government runs smoothly?
I think my government will insist on a balanced budget. If we lack fiscal discipline, spending out of budget is irresponsible. And you know very well, I think we too donor dependent. Everything we want must come from the donors. I have always said an overprotected child cannot be self-reliant. Liberians have the resources. We should use those resources wisely. We don't have to go to people to look for money if we manage our resources well. I'm happy that my counterparts, they always call in my name when they speak, experience. Thank you very much for addressing me, because that's what I have. The experience, we've been in it. We don't just talk on issues. We know that if we have fiscal discipline, if we manage our budget well, and make sure that we just spend that which we have, we will avoid all of the problems that we have with excesses. And I know we can do it. We have the competence, but we must have the desire and the determination to do those things that are right. What we don't have is the determination to do the right things. Excuses cannot help us. We need to spend our money wisely. We're talking about people in government. You only change the rules when you are in the game. Many people here have been in the game. They didn't change the rules. You change the rules when you are in the game. Now after that, you tell people what to do. All of us are serving government. But what we need is the discipline to make sure that we spend that which we have. Taxes are not going to help. We must have fiscal discipline to be able to make sure that our budget is balanced. A balanced budget must be insisted upon. That means your revenue and your expenditure must be in place. Thank you very much.
Mr. Vice President,
Yeah.
I want to make a follow-up question, please. You just stated that we lack fiscal discipline in this country. Are you indicating that this government that you are part of is corporate to fiscal indiscipline?
A government, one of the things that people think about government is unity party. We are the only country who have 21 parties, all of them representing government. So when you're talking about discipline, it's all of us. The Liberty Party is there, the CDC is there, everybody is there. All of us are there, and they all decide how to spend the money. So we all have to ask ourselves, have we been responsible enough? Have we been responsible enough? It's not Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, it's the government. So ask all of us, have we been responsible?
You also talked about spending out of budget is irresponsible. Is that the case that's happening now?
I am saying that if we have had a budget that we stick to, and that we know that we don't have the resources and we spend, it's irresponsible to spend out of money that you don't have. Unless you have a legitimate reason, like my counterpart said, that you can have excess in budget. But I believe we can keep our eyes on our income and our expenditure and live within that with discipline.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President.
All right, we'll now take the final question on our economy. Mr. Bromsky, can you move to the podium, please? The majority of Liberia's budget Can we have your attention, please? Thank you. The majority of Liberia's budget is said to be spent on the recurring costs of running the government, especially regarding the payment of salaries. If you have the opportunity to go to the executive mansion, what measures will you propose to rein in the running, especially with the running of the government regarding this salary payment?
Well, I think I partly answered that question earlier when I talked about the reduction of salaries of the top few people. Because you see, this recurring expenses, it's not by the guys at the bottom of the scale, it's by those guys at the top. Okay? So we start by reducing salaries at the top and make sure that we are careful with how we purchase things on behalf of government. The Sally Barker administration, starting 2006, spent millions of dollars every year purchasing vehicles. Not one time they can tell you, say, when vehicles that were purchased and depreciated were sold and the salvage value was reclaimed and placed in government revenue. So what we've been doing, spending money on vehicles for the big shots. After the vehicle are said to have depreciated, they take them and government buy new vehicles for them. Those are the things that we will stop. Look at gasoline fuel, for example. You got all of these big shots receiving gas slips, totaling millions and millions of dollars. There is no audit. The legislature presided over by the speaker cannot tell you when last they were audited. They receive millions and millions of dollars in gas slips. That's going to stop. That's going to stop. I would like to have government gas distribution centralized, where instead of giving gas slips, people can go to gas station. You go there, you take your vehicle, you take the mileage of the vehicle. They give you 10 gallons of gas. We know that 10 gallons of gas will take the vehicle's X number of miles. You're coming back. Before you reach X number of miles, you're not going to get the gas. Okay? Those are small, simple means by which we can cut down the recurring expenses of government. But since I still got time, let me talk to Joe's issue about having experience. You know, so experience is not enough. Your experience must be good experience. Okay? I serve in government, and I don't want to be mixed with him. I serve in government as the President Pro Tempore of Liberian Senate. I'm one of the few government officials who were asked to leave government, not because I was corrupt, not because I was inefficient, but because I was advocating for Liberian people, and my way of doing things was different from that of the government of the day. So I don't want the Vice President confusing me and him when it comes to experience. Experience are different, okay? My experience is a good experience that Liberian people need to run this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cummings, can you move to the podium, please?
For the question,
Do you want me to repeat the question?
is around reducing the recurrent?
Yeah.
Yes. So
Mr. Cummings, can you move away from the microphone?
okay.
Thank you.
I want to come at the question from the other side, meaning the question has been answered in the past as if the budget is static, as if we cannot grow the national budget. One way, and the way we will approach reducing that percentage, is to grow the budget. And the growth in the budget will be used for investment purposes. Yes, there's waste in the budget. I mentioned this earlier. Councilor mentioned the number of cars we buy. I mentioned travel and all the waste, how much we pay per unit of whatever. We have to reduce that. But ultimately, Raymond, we have to take that budget from 550 million to 700 million to $1 billion to 2 billion. And that's how we will reduce the recurrent expenditure. But let me tell you how we'll do it. So it's not just talk. right? We will do it by stimulating the growth in the economy of our country. We will do it by growing the private sector. We will do it by reducing the amount of regulation. We tie our hands. We create rules and laws that we cannot enforce. And we constrain the Liberian people. We constrain Liberian businesses. And we will simplify. I believe by even reducing our tax rates, we'll actually collect more money because we'll make it simpler to apply. There will be less room for corruption. We will also make sure we get the full value from our natural resources. Because again, we got to grow the revenue. There's cost reduction and there's revenue growth. And so we will grow the economic pie. And if you understand the math, by growing that, even if you help recurring expenditure the same, the percentage will go down over time as we take the budget from $600 million to $2 billion. And that's where we'll focus, is expansion, is growth. I want us as Liberians to rethink how we think about ourselves. We should be more expansive in our thinking. You know, we actually shouldn't talk about poverty reduction. We should be talking about wealth creation. We should want to create wealthy Liberians, not less poor Liberians. And this is what Alexander Cummings, Jeremiah Solonte, and the ANC-led government will do. We will create wealthy Liberians, we'll grow the economic pie for all Liberians, and through that process, we will reduce the amount of recurring expenditures. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a seat, please. Mr. Ure? Do you want me to repeat the question, sir?
No, it's fine. Recurring expenditures. No matter how one takes it, it's a matter of governance. It's a matter of governance. If we don't have the requisite personnel and structures in government to ensure that this does not occur, it will continue to occur. Look, everywhere in the world, when the process of budgeting begins, you will decide that you will take a percentage of your budget and use it on X, Y, and Z, and another percentage on the other. Even if our budget goes to $1 billion and our recurring expenses continue to grow, it doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't, I mean, even if we generate more revenue and have a lot of money to spend, and our recurring expenditures continue to go up, it doesn't help. It's no solution. Take, for example, my colleagues mentioned vehicles, purchasing of vehicles and other necessary things to run the government. I will go for a standardization of most of these things to ensure that we cut down costs. Take, for example, rather than minister riding an $80,000 car, he will ride a $20 Hyundai. Rather than having the legislative branch of government having counter development funds where they misuse it, it will go to rural development. And we'll be able to curtail expenditures. And when we project budgets, when we have professionals, people who will look at, after we had to have a development plan for the country and say, look, we expect that in 3 years, our country will move from point A to point B. And to do that, we need resources. Yes, our budget will be approximately $600 million. What portion of it will we use to get our country to point B? And that is where planners come into, and they will manipulate the figures and all to ensure that we reach our goal in terms of our national development plan. But the reoccurring expenditures will be decreased under a Ure and Dopo government. Because if we're going to move forward, we have to cut down a lot of things. It's given that salaries will be cut. It's given that the poor, the average policeman on the street, the teacher will get more income. Because it's inhumane for one person to make $75,000 a year and one can make 10.
Thank you, sir. The Vice President, can you move to the podium, please? Do you want me to repeat your question, sir?
The same question?
Yes, sir.
You know, thank God that people now know how much people make, that they can see the budget, something we never knew before. Thank God to the early Joseph elite government that people know now how much people earn, what wastage is going on. At least we have done well in that direction, because knowing the problem is knowing part of the solution. So we know it, but I can tell you that it doesn't have anything much to do with salaries and all of these, good. But all of that is part of the discipline that we're talking about. Where do you lay the emphasis? Is it on salaries? We have an economy that is not expanding. We have expenditure that is expanding. Don't we need to look at it to see what is happening? Because I told you from start, you talk about $20,000 a car on a road that is as bad as going to Lofa, you will buy 3 of those cars in 1 year. You're not talking about the vehicle. We're talking about you're talking about the cost. We have bad roads. We don't have roads. Our economy had not provided. Thank God. This is the first time in the history of Liberia that Liberians are going home to build bridges. They are going home to build roads because of the provision that were made with the County Development Fund, provision that were made up country for the people to have access to money. This is first in the history of Liberia. 50 years ago, if that had happened, we would have had roads all over this country. So we need to know where the problem lies. We need to know where to put the money. Recurring, sure. But again, we need to know that if we improve the condition of our road, if we improve the quality of our young people, if we improve the life of our women and children, we will see that all of them will be contributors to the growth and development of this country. Inclusiveness, the main purpose of this government is to look after people and put in discipline to take care of these people.
Again, we're going to stop here for tonight. Hopefully you have time to process this. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to play Unde Pape Boaka parts. Okay. In sequence. What he talked about, we beg too much. We should not be begging. Okay. I like to give, I think I always put this. I'm not ashamed to quote a bad actor if the line is right. Ure, Bronskin, Cummings were on the ball, not being defensive. Mr. Cummings talked about expanding the budget and putting the money into the human capital development, into the people. Ure made a point where you said, the nation that are intentional, majority, nowhere in the world, where you spend 80% of your budget on recurring expenditure. Papi Bwaka would not answer that question. He got defensive. Just the last one that we just played. Okay, I will put a link of that video down there. You can go back and watch it. That's the last thing I just played right here. You can go back and watch it and listen to him. He did not tell us how he's going to balance the budget, how we're going to change the life and livelihood of the everyday Liberian. If you're spending 80% of your budget, okay, this is just 8 years ago that we were doing the 2017. 80% of the budget will be spent on recurring expenditure. I live in Georgia. 35% of the budget of $40 billion, it goes to education. Georgia is considered the black capital, black millionaire capital of the world. Georgia is considered some of the most educated black states. Money is pumped into education and advancement. Government, people who work for government should not make the kind of money, especially in a poor country. Papi Bwaka talk about not begging, living within our means. But you've been out of the country 25 times. Folks, I will say good night. You have a good day. I kept on my word. I'm tired. You can see my face and I have a headache. So I'm going to go to bed. I want to say thank you. Go back and watch the debate and listen to what those people said. And may Charles Walker Bronskin so rest in peace. We still got Mr. Cummings with us, you know. A brilliant, brilliant mind. An economist. Good night, everyone.